But I talk about madrone trees today. Madrone tree is a fairly common tree on the west coast of the United States, and it grows all the way along the coast in California, all the way up into Washington. I have a lot of madrone trees on my property, and they're really an extraordinary tree. You can see some of these right behind me here. One of the really amazing things about this tree is it has what's called an exfoliating bark. And if you look real closely here, let me see if I can get a little bit closer for you. That bark is really amazing. In the springtime, it's a brilliant green color. And then it oxidizes and turns that real nice sort of an orangish brown color. And in the summertime, where it's summertime right now, it seems to dry up and it flakes. Now the Native Americans used this bark to make a tea, and apparently it's got some medicinal qualities to it. I was looking it up, and if you scrape it off and make a pot of tea with it, it's good for sore throats. I did not know that, so I'm going to try it. It's also got little berries. At this time of the year, they're still kind of green, but the berries, they turn sort of they're kind of a reddish color, and they are edible. They taste kind of like a rough, woody, leathery strawberry. They're not delicious, but they are edible. Let's see if I can find some here. Let me zoom up on these too. The tree is a beautiful tree, but it's not often used as a landscape tree. It seems to do best in the native environment, and it does best up a little bit above sea level. Usually starts at about 1,000 feet or so and goes up to about 2,000 feet in elevation. And as you can see, we have a whole forest of madrone trees, and they are just an amazing tree. If you look over on this side, you can see this tree has barely begun to shed its bark, whereas the one over closer here, that seems to be shedding a lot more of its bark. So we're right at the beginning of the season for the bark coming off. There is a problem with this tree called Botryosphaeria, and that causes whole limbs to turn black and die off. And you can see a little bit of it in this tree right here, some of the blackening limbs. Once again, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit closer. And in some cases, the Botryosphaeria can kill the trees. We see a lot of madrone trees die. If you look out in the woods there, you can see a completely black madrone tree, and that's died of the Botryosphaeria. And it's a fairly large example. And further down on the ground, you can see another dead tree. That's also one that died of the Botryosphaeria. So it's a really valuable tree. The birds love the berries, especially the native doves, the bandtail pigeons they call them. They're not doves. They look more like a big pigeon. They'll flock to these trees, and sometimes you'll have flocks of hundreds of these birds that will be up in a tree, and they're just picking all the madrone berries. Lumber value. It is actually an interesting hardwood for furniture makers, but it's very difficult to cure. One of the reasons it's so hard to cure is, I don't know if you can read it, but the logs always seem to grow in a twist. And sometimes you'll find an example of a madrone that is just uncanny. The whole log will just twist up, and it'll almost look like it's got ribs or muscles. But then once in a while, you'll find a log that is absolutely pure straight grain. And if that's what you're trying to obtain for milling, you can find a log that will mill and will turn out okay. But it's also very difficult to cure because it cracks quite readily. So next time you're out in the woods, especially in the California coastline or all the way up through Oregon, Washington, pay attention to the madrone tree. I love them. Oh yeah. Just chilling. I'm very fortunate to have what I believe to be the grandfather Madrone up on my property. And what we're looking at here is a forest of tan oaks. But way up the hillside, it's hard to see, but way up there. Well, let's go up and take a look at it. This is not at all easy to get to. Very steep hillside. I don't have any trails that go to it. Turn the camera off for a while there because I was falling down the hill. I was still falling. There it is. That thing is enormous. This tree, it's hard to tell from this video, but this tree is about 6 feet across at the base, and it just towers to the sky. It's about 100 and something feet tall. It spreads out in all directions. Just a magnificent specimen. I'm guessing this tree to be several hundred years old, and the butt of the tree has a big fire scar. Let me get over closer to that. Now this is a really old wound here, and you can see it's still black way in there. I know there was a big fire here in the 1930s, so about 75 years ago this tree burned and something happened to the base. Maybe a tree fell on it and caused some damage. But remarkably, this tree has gone on to become just, it's the grandfather Madrone of this whole forest here. There might be bigger ones around, but I've yet to see one. So, have you seen a bigger Madrone tree than this one? If so, leave me a message. I want to hear about them. I'm sure there's some champion Madrones that are around. I have yet to see one bigger than this. So anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and be safe out there.